And Lance Leipold, head coach at Kansas, joins us on 365 Sports. Appreciate you being here. I love your style. You've won everywhere you've been. You've done what you've done. I know there's a lot more to get done at KU. You like this renovation thing, don't you?
Yeah. First of all, guys, great to be with you, and I appreciate the kind words. And I think for where KU was and the fit. Sometimes you find the right fit and the right challenges and what we're doing. And every day now when I get to our stadium by the indoor and I see the stadium renovation, I go, this is kind of fits us and who we are and what we're doing to make it better than it was before. And it's going to be an exciting, challenging year.
How much of because routine is the key for you guys, right? And you don't get to really have one because you're at a couple different home quote venues. How will that be a challenge for you and the staff?
Yeah, to be determined, I guess. It's not like we have open access to all them, and can't use it as an excuse. It is what it is. I think the first two games at Children's Mercy Park in Kansas City, Kansas, is actually, as far as that routine goes, the nice thing is that's going to be the closest one from our home hotel. So that part's even more convenient. I think it's going to have the type of environment, as you know, the soccer stadiums kind of have overhang. I think it can create a nice environment, loud environment for us to get this season started. When we told our players our options in this, and, we explored trying to play in half a stadium and all that, but I think this group of guys deserved more than that, and I was pretty adamant about not doing it. And you say you're going to play where the Super Bowl champs are playing, and all of a sudden some eyes kind of perk up, and it's cool. And I've tried to use this today, guys, is the same reason why we're here. We came to an NFL stadium, so to speak, where a Super Bowl was. Why? For an experience, and we're going to kind of carry that over to this season.
And if you play in the Big 12 championship game, you'll be at an NFL stadium. And if you play, past the first round of the playoff, if everything were to go right, you'd be playing in some NFL stadiums.
Right. And then I listen to you say that, and I say, can you even believe we're talking about that at Kansas right now?
I was going to ask you, obviously you are the talk, the buzz of the turnaround, right? Yeah. And I don't know if you've seen the debate going on of who did it better, Bill Snyder at K-State, Lance Leipold at KU. That's been a whole KU-KSU conversation for like the last 24 hours. I guess I just wondered, did you think you'd be where you are now as quickly as you appear to be?
People ask that, is this ahead of schedule, at schedule?
Yeah.
I don't know if there was a schedule.
Right.
You're just trying to get better. I think, maybe for job security, it would have been better to go 2, 4, 6, 8. But because when you raise the bar, you raise expectations and all those things, and credit to Bill Snyder and what K-State has done and what Chris has been able to take and do a great job. But why not? If they can do it there, why couldn't we? I think when I look at Matt Campbell and what he did, those are part of the reasons. 30-plus years ago, I was a grad assistant for Barry Alvarez in the early days at Wisconsin, and my last year with him was the first Big Ten championship and Rose Bowl win. I looked at what he did and then stayed there to continue to do. So I think there's some things right there and that I've been able to kind of look at and say, why not us? And why not give us that fighting opportunity? And I have to really thank our administration to continue to invest in us to give us the chance to do so.
So you have expectations now for this team. Last year's team, everyone thought might be a little bit better, and you, of course, were 9-4. Is that a challenge with this team to make sure it's nice to be thought of in the conversation, but you also have to not forget how you got there?
Absolutely, and I battled that with myself because you talk to our guys. I'm pretty stoic, and they think I'm a Grinch, and they once said I was Oscar the Grouch, and and all this stuff. But my job is to keep pushing it forward and get us better. And I always tell them, you got enough people on the outside telling you what you want to hear. My responsibility is to tell you what you need to hear. But at the same time, this is too short, and they've come so far. Is I want them to embrace it. I want them to have some confidence and some swagger off of this, because this program's been kicked to the curb so many times, and punchlines and all that. I have to find a way to maintain that we don't let that leak into complacency, because it's not just going to happen. And what happens in programs, I believe, guys, is, you've got these guys that have keep working and they understand, but when the new guys interject, the guys that came from the 6-win season to a 9-win season or joined anywhere in between, they don't know what the 2-win and the 0-win seasons were like and what was done. And that's where your leadership, and we have 30 seniors, and we gotta lean on them, as well as a coaching staff that has to stay hungry. And we have a new coordinator and a couple other new things. So we've got to make sure, and that's my responsibility.
Speaking of the coordinator, Jeff Grimes,
Yep.
who was at Baylor,
Yep.
had a hell of a team in 21, 22. They run that wide zone.
Yeah.
When you were talking to him about how it fits what you want,
Yeah.
what are those discussions like?
Yeah, well, I knew. I teed you up for that. I knew you were going to bring Jeff into this today. Shoot, between this and BYU, I should have just brought Jeff with me and then had him do it. Shoot, he can do this. He's going to do it next year, and I'm going to stay on vacation. No, I've part of that where Jeff was definitely at the top of a short list of people I wanted to talk to, and it started really with the 21 season. We were picked 10th, they were picked 9th. I didn't know much about the league, but I also know that they had a starting center in Jacob Gall that played for us at Buffalo, and not the tallest individual in the world, and I saw that he took something of very similar to the blueprint that we use, that are good football players but maybe don't check everyone else's boxes, and he found a way for him to be highly productive. I looked at what they did offensively and some of the things I really liked that I thought were pretty innovative and could complement what we do. And then we talked, of course, about I don't want these kids to change too much. They're going to, so terminology is going to stay the same. What is this? Does this fit? And we sat in a hotel in Dallas for about 4 or 5 hours. Jonathan Wallace, our running back coach, who was a player at Auburn when Jeff was there, was part of most of the discussions. And I think we found a good spot, and I'm excited for Jeff. Again, I think for what they were doing and things didn't maybe end the way they wanted. I think that fits kind of what we're about too, somebody that has something to prove, and I'm excited for him to be with us.
You've had success at multiple levels of college football as a head coach, and there are now more, like you and Matt Campbell and Kalen DeBoer and Chris Kleiman all were at the lower levels. For that create a renaissance of coaches maybe getting opportunities, because people can see, like, hey, just because he was at in the NII at one point doesn't mean he doesn't know ball. Right. How much does that help, you when you're rebuilding Kansas, to not look at it as, well, we should do this like LSU's doing this. We should do this how we can do it at Kansas and build small and look that way.
I try to look at it for each and every moment of the situation, because I would be remiss for not saying that there's players that you're talking to and talking about that were recruited by a Les Miles staff. And there's parts of what we saw that there was a SEC-type footprint of recruiting that was there. Now, that doesn't completely fit our staff and what we do, but we have to recognize it. And to me, one of the things you have to do is adapt. I came to the conclusion a long time ago, I know I'm not, and I'm comfortable with not being the smartest man in the room. But I have to be strong enough to be willing to make the decision that counts once I get the information. So when we hire people that have other strengths, and we take that. So, whether it be the smaller level development piece that we see and we have to cultivate, or it is going as we've tried to keep evolving at every stop. And I think I look at my 10 years at Division II in Omaha. Of my first 3 years, we were 1-10, 3-8. We went 10-2. Those are the reasons I am doing what I've done, because those were my most gratifying moments of coaching, really, until I got to Buffalo. and we're going to take that. But now I look at our time at Whitewater, and we sustained a winning culture. And we didn't get complacent, and we kept moving, and we kept interjecting new pieces. And now I've got to probably, as a head coach, take some of those experiences and put them all into one.
You lost Jason Bean. I know there's a lot of talk about your starting quarterback, but how much of a lesson did Jason Bean provide for you to show players about being ready, about awaiting your moment, working hard, and when the time comes, maximizing that?
Jason Bean has left so many great stories for us to utilize with any player at any position. One, after he transferred and came in our first year, we're 2-10, and I think half the people wanted us to put him in the portal or something because his pocket presence needed work. You saw him play, guys.
North Texas,
and he was at North Texas as well. And then the next year, and then Jason says, "I'm going to move on." And I said, "Well, I think you're making a mistake. I'd love to have you come back." He was just going to go to pro day, and we talked about, okay, what do you think is going to happen after you run your 40? Well, they're going to say they want me to play another position. Well, we talked about, why don't you stay here and we work on another position as well as quarterback? Well, then the thing happened with Jaylen, and the rest is history. But the young man didn't hit eject button a second time. He became a really good teammate. Jaylen was his biggest supporter and vice versa, even through those tougher times. And when you start talking to guys about doing that and staying ready and doing those things, and then the cool thing is, the third string quarterback is Cole Ballard.
Yeah.
Whose dad is Chris, and you guys might know even Chris from his Kingsville days or Houston days. Well, Chris was a student assistant when I was a grad assistant at Wisconsin. So I've known Chris from the time he was in school. Well, Chris is flying to games and watching us, and I don't even know he's showing up. And he's sitting by himself somewhere and doesn't sit with the rest of the parents. But he's also watching Jason Bean.
Oh.
And now Jason Bean is with the Colts.
Yeah.
There you go.
Pretty cool.
It's all about relationships and that spider web. You do have a dynamic quarterback in Jaylen Daniels, and of course everyone talks about the back, etc. I saw your quote. He wouldn't be here today if you didn't think he was going to be just fine.
Yeah. I watch him. He's over there somewhere. I go watching. I don't know if you guys don't get over there. They got a ping pong table there. He's doing more ping pong play. I go to these other deals. They got these kids dancing and doing things. I said, shoot, we need to stretch these guys before they come here. But he's doing everything that he's being allowed to by our people. And we're going to be smart with it. And, of course, we're being reckless with this and throwing him back into it. But he's going to be ready to go. It's my expectation he'll be the starting quarterback game one and the 11 that follow.
When you are coaching him in game, he's one of those players. You've got another one in Devon Neal. Like, when they have the ball and that moment happens that you see the magic. Like, what is it like from just the coach's perspective of, I've got to be excited, but I also have to kind of keep it together.
Yeah, I'm excited. Like, against Illinois when he played, like, Jaylen, hey, get rid of the ball, man. You're taking a safety, and he makes two people miss, and then it's a 6-year. Yeah, it's a no, yes. But, yeah, when those guys do those things, and, you kind of catch yourself, and that's, thank God I'm not the play caller, because sometimes you get caught watching a little bit and enjoying it, we're definitely a better team when he's on the field. The thing I feel bad about today, guys, is we got 3 pretty good receivers, and we haven't talked about them anywhere I went unless I interject them into the conversation. That's too bad.
I was going to bring them up. Thanks.
Yeah, okay.
You beat me to it. Yes, no, you do though. I mean, you've got some great Lawrence Arnold. There's some talent there, and I think even the running backs kind of override them a little bit as well. So highlight those wide receivers.
I mean, I didn't know this till they come out with those graphics late in the year or after the season, but Lawrence Arnold from DeSoto,
Texas boy,
and Luke Grimm and Quentin Skinner are our 3 starting guys. And we have 2 other seniors in Trevor Wilson, who returned a punt for a touchdown, and then Torrey Lachlan. But those 3 starters I saw were in the top 50 in the country in yards per catch. So when everything is together and we're clicking, we can be explosive with any of those guys, can create big plays, and that's for us to have a chance. That's what we need. We need everybody ready and able, and then when we start, our motions and shifts and little option game and stuff, it's fun to watch when we're truly creative and watch those guys get opportunities.
Congratulations on what you've done. I know you've got bigger fish to fry and also bigger goals. Again, your career shows that you're going to reach them. And it doesn't mean it will be easy, and it's obviously this new conference with.
Well, yeah, I agree. Can I ask you guys a question? You guys know Pete Fredenberg over at Pete's one of my guys. I bet you I'll have a call in here sometime. You know what? And when you bring that in, when you say those things, guys, I bring up guys like him because Pete's a good ball coach and he's a good person.
Oh my God!
And we battled, and when I'm sitting here, fortunate enough to do this, I think about Pete had his time at Baylor and LSU, but there's a lot of good football coaches at the lower levels that I just got fortunate enough and blessed enough to go do it.
What he did at Mary Hardin Baylor is insanity.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
Their stadium is
amazing. We went to the other one once in this windiest game of all time. I'll tell you a funny story off air sometime, but man, to see what they built then, and you look at college athletics, guys, and what it can do for a university and vice versa and stuff. And I use that because I'll hear from Pete 2 or 3 times a year still. When we played down at Baylor a couple of years ago, he and his wife stopped by the hotel to say hello, but of course they were going to watch the Mary Hardin Baylor game. But I look at people like that I've met along the way at the lower levels, like we say, and know that there's some good people doing great things.
Absolutely.
The very first time I interviewed him about 17, 18 years ago, he cut off the interview in the middle. He goes, "Paul, I hate to do this to you, but there's an old lady with a flat tire on the side of the road. I'm going to help her." And I was like, "Oh, yeah, absolutely." But it's the kindest way an interview has ever appropriated.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
Lance, thanks for your time.
Well, thank you for the opportunity, guys, to be
Appreciate
with you.
Yeah.
All the best to you.
You too.
And if you need to kill a segment or sometime, give me a holler.
I will.
I'll be glad to do so.
We love
okay?
glad
All
we
right.
got you on. Lance Leipold, KU Football, 365 Sports. Don Chumador and